Thank you, Manoj. The answer to your question as to why for the last 6 years no action has been taken on the direction of the Supreme Court that pertains to the central government. For the last 3 years, I'm sure Mr. R.K. Singh would answer.
It's actually from
And no, once again. And for the previous 3 years, the former Home Secretary can also answer. Now, well, whatever it is, Home Secretary, the former Home Secretary, the current minister is in a better position to enlighten us on why this important direction has not been implemented. First of all, I must say that I've had nothing to do with the police throughout my career, and I told Mr. Ramachandran I'm just the wrong person to invite for this interaction, but he insisted, and I'm here. But when I recall my own career, I had 5 years in which I dealt with the police administration in the Naxalite affected, the left-wing extremism affected districts of the country. And what I have to say is born out of these 5 years of experience that I had between 2009 and 2014 in what was then the 88 left-wing extremism affected districts of the country. And the first recollection I have is really the enormous role that the local police administration and the local forest administration have played in creating the problem which we are trying to solve. Now, why this problem has arisen, it's arisen for a variety of reasons. For example, in the case of the forest administration, it's because of the persistence of the Indian Forest Act of 1927 and its implementation in a most insensitive manner by both the police as well as the forest administration. The police administration basically acting on the advice and on the directions of the local forest administration. So the first challenge I really had was in trying to sensitize the governments involved, particularly Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, which was the 3 states in which I really focused my efforts, and of course some districts in Maharashtra and Andhra and now Telangana, of course. To sensitize both at the cutting edge level, the police administration and the forest administration, to be far more sensitive in dealing with the issues that arise and which lead to an alienation of the people from the civil administration. In many of these districts, I found that the civil administration simply does not exist. And the interface of the people is not with the elected representatives, it's not with the civil administration, it's with some organization which over a period of years has built up credibility in that area and enjoys the confidence. I mean, Narayanpur, for example, in Chhattisgarh, I found that the only organization that was effective in reaching public services to people which are constitutional obligations was the local Ramakrishna mission, started by Swami Ranganathananda in the year 1986. So I think we must really try to understand what is our own role in terms of our contribution, both in terms of the legal structure that we have created and which we have inherited in many ways and which we have not modernized, and the way the local administrations, particularly the police and the forest administrations, went about their tasks. The second observation that I'd like to make is that in the few areas that we had a success in turning around the situation, and the former Home Secretary played a very important role in that, areas like Saranda in Paschimi Singhbhum in Jharkhand, the key really lay in the ability of the local police to provide intelligence on which the paramilitary forces and others were able to act and move I remember when Operation Anaconda was launched by Mr. Vijay Kumar of the CRPF in 2011. It was preceded by very effective intelligence gathering and collation by the local police, and the interface between the paramilitary and the police administration at the local level, I think, played a very important role in the success that the paramilitary forces had, which in turn created the conditions for developmental interventions. So I think this is an obvious point. If you go back in time and you ask and when you read of how terrorism and militancy was dealt with in Punjab, one of the answers that you get, important answers that you get, is that the leadership provided to the local police was a very important stimulus for transformation. And this is something that I saw in area after area, in district after district in different states, that where the local police has equipped itself with intelligence systems or has been allowed to equip itself, we have had great success. The third observation I want to make, which struck me remarkably, particularly in the southern part of Chhattisgarh, which today is really the hotbed of left-wing extremism, Sukma, Narayanpur, Bijapur, Bastar, Dantewada, I mean the southern part of Chhattisgarh, the Abujmahad area. What struck me whenever I used to go there, and I used to almost visit these places almost once in 10 days and spend a lot of time there, what struck me was the enormous shortfall in the personnel of the local police. And when I would ask, for example, the district, to take Sukma as an example, when I asked the collector in Sukma, what should be your optimal police size of the local police, he said, sir, I need, for an area like Sukma and the challenges that I face, I need at least a local police strength of about 3,000. And his actual local police strength was between 800 and 1,000. And this was a story not just in Sukma, it was in Latehar, it was in different parts of Jharkhand. Certainly it was true in parts of Odisha, which I used to go. And the inability, really, and there is really no rational answer for this. If you ask me, why does this situation persist? There is no rational answer for why do governments of whatever political ideology continue not to provide adequate personnel to the police on the ground. There is really no rational answer. But I feel that this is something that was of great importance, and it's very difficult, at least insofar as my experience was concerned, it was very difficult to expect the civil administration to do the type of development interventions that we expect them to do in the absence of a minimum critical mass of local police officers or local police forces, which in some places was 1/3 the optimal level. And this is something that has persisted, and I see really no change on the ground. Very recently I had been to parts of Jharkhand, and the same complaint that I was getting 5 years ago, 6 years ago, is the same complaint that I am hearing, is that we do not have adequate local police force on the ground that does not just intelligence gathering but also provides the action which creates the conditions for developmental intervention. So this is something that has always puzzled me, and I do not have a rational answer for this. The other thing that struck me was that there is, in these areas particularly, and my experience, as I told you, is limited to central India and parts of eastern India, where the problem of left-wing extremism is most acute, is there is an absolute insensitivity on the part of the police administration to deal with tribal sentiments. I mean, there are tribal areas, and they have special problems, they have special challenges. And pardon my saying so, I don't think that we should equate ourselves to the people who are breaking. Just because people who are breaking the law behave in one manner does not justify the state behaving in a similar manner. And this moral equivalency that we want to create, that, oh, the Maoists infringe on human rights and therefore we have every right to infringe on human rights. I do not agree with this moral equivalency. I think the state has a greater obligation to uphold constitutional values. The state has a greater obligation to be seen to be on the side of the weaker and dispossessed sections of society. And I'm really I was really saddened to see young police officers justifying actions, saying that in these conditions, issues of human rights are all middle-class luxuries which urbanites can spend time on. But here, when we are faced with a situation, all these recede into the background. I do not agree with that point of view, and I think part of the problem really has been a perception. And reality may be different. A perception that the state is as much a culprit in these violations as the Maoists themselves are. And I think we have to deal with this perception. Finally, let me say that I'm 100% in agreement with the view that has been articulated repeatedly, that the police administration must function without fear or favor, that there must be absolute autonomous professional functioning of the police administration, and we should institutionalize this autonomy and professionalization and not leave it to enlightened ministers or enlightened civil servants. I think there is undoubtedly a case to be made, and successive police commissions have made. Mr. Prakash Singh has written extensively on this, and I am 100% in agreement with the view that we must take politics out of the police administration. But at the same time, I would end by saying that it's also incumbent upon the police system not to be part of the political system. This is I scratch your back and you scratch my back. I have seen this from the inside. I can tell you that, it saddens me to say this, that when I see politicians playing politics is their normal stock in trade. But when police officers start playing politics, then I think we have serious cause for worry. So this is, a two-sided thing. We must get politics out of the police administration, and whatever we need to do to professionalize appointments, to give autonomy in functioning, must be done. Now, I'm 100% with it, but at the same time, I would also make a case that it's also important for the police system and the police family to look inwards and to keep a healthy distance from the political system. Otherwise, there is a danger that the political system will just simply embrace you and you will get unnecessarily compromised in the process. Thank you.